Hi, everybody. Just a few random thoughts for this Friday, August 22nd. About 2.5 years ago, I was walking down the streets of Manhattan and ran into a guitar player who I've been a fan of for a long, long time. I'm not mentioning any names. This guitar player, in my opinion, is one of the most incredible musicians I'm aware of. We spoke for a while, traded numbers, and I sent him a text telling him I enjoyed speaking with him and asking him if he ever played with a certain sound. I wanted to know if this is something that he liked doing or didn't like doing, because I had the thought of asking him to play on something of mine. And he never wrote back. And I thought, oh man, I shouldn't have asked that. He was probably offended by what I wrote. Maybe I should just accept what I heard and not ask about other things. Anytime I would see him on a video or read something about him, I would think about how I made this big mistake by what I had written in this text. It had been bothering me for, once again, almost 2.5 years. I went to the Village Vanguard last night and heard Bill Frisell's band, who was sitting next to me, but this guitar player. And I introduced myself, and he said, "Oh, I know you. I remember we had that talk in Manhattan a couple of years ago." And I said, "Yeah, and I wrote to you afterward, and you never got back to me, and I want to apologize if I said something that was offensive to you in some way." And he said, "No, you got it all wrong. Speaking with you was a highlight of that period of time. Something was going on, and I was preoccupied, and I kind of had a feeling what he was going to tell me, and what he did tell me was that his father was very, very sick and dying and did eventually pass away, and for the longest time afterward, he just was in another frame of mind, and responding to a text like mine was just not something that he could possibly do." But I'd gotten everything completely wrong. And finally, 2.5 years of concern was just kind of washed away, and I'm very thankful for that. Of course, it made me think about wrong perceptions, and made me think about Bob Lefsetz's email. I don't know if you subscribe to his emails, but I find them very, very interesting. He wrote about a band called Ghost and their newest tune called Guiding Lights, and how much he thought it was a really good song. And when I looked at the comments below the song on YouTube, there were so many people who just adored the singer and loved the band, and they were pointing to various lines, and they just loved it. And I listened to it twice, and I couldn't figure out what was the attraction. I still can't, but I'm open to trying again, but it just didn't do anything for me. But once again, it makes me think about the way things are perceived, and I'm just not perceiving this in the way that others are. It reminds me of something that I just heard Gabriel Kahane say. A friend of his would listen to something, and if he didn't like it, he would just say NGB, which stood for no goosebumps. And that's kind of my reaction to this song, but other people really love it. You might want to check it out. The last thing that I wanted to mention was that I've been reading a book called Empty Ideas by an analytic philosopher named Peter Unger. And I just read a section that had to do with the fact that the electron lasts forever. It doesn't change. It is always there. I believe I'm correct in saying that he relates this to that group of philosophers who sees no real difference between what was, what is, and what will be. Well, today my mom would have been 110 years old, and it would be nice to think that on some, I suppose, on the level of an electron, she still exists. Um, but maybe that's about it. I don't believe in any other form of existence. But I do miss her, and I miss both of my parents. And have a good Friday. Bye.